Sometimes we really have to figure out in life what we want to do, where we want our career to be headed, and how can we get there. So today I talk with Lydia. She is trying to figure out if she should get into a new job or if she should start doing some entrepreneurial things on her own. So today is a short little video of the beginning of our conversation where I kind of work with her one-on-one to help her get into her dream career. And we start off by figuring out what it is that she's going to need to do and how she can get there. So not all of the one-on-one was recorded in here because I wanted to protect some of her privacy. In addition to, I didn't want to have an hour-long video. So we've got a few of the beginning questions that we ask, and then later on afterwards, we do dive into a lot more in depth. And we create an action plan so that she is able to actually walk away with, these are the things that I need to do to help me get to where I want to be. Lydia, go ahead and tell me about yourself. What do you do? Did you go to school? What situation are you in right now?
So right now, I am from the Lansing area, and I've lived here my whole entire life, and I've been really itching to get out, and now with this whole situation that's going on, it's made it that much harder. But I went to MSU for creative advertising. And the first semester was awesome. I dreamed about going to MSU because my whole family went to MSU, and I got there. First semester was great. Then afterwards, the facade went away, and then they were making me take classes that I didn't want anything to do with. So I was just like, okay, and this is a creative, and even one of my teachers saying you're not here to learn how to be creative. Most of you guys are already here because you are creative. We're just teaching you how to access it. So I was like, okay. And so it's just like these little hints I kept picking up, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to stop because this is a creative. If I was a doctor, for sure, I would go to school without a doubt. But since it's creative, and now the field that I'm in is, I've had to make up my own title because I do so many things, but I do graphic design, photography, and videography. And I say multi-graphic creator, I guess. And I really like this area so far. I don't seem to hate it, which is, I would say, important.
Good.
But the job, it's tough sometimes. In the beginning, I really liked it because I was just starting out, had no idea what I was doing, and so this was kind of me learning, but now I've come to the point where, okay, I know exactly what I'm doing, and now I see things that I didn't really see before, and so after a certain point, I feel like you can only be challenged so much if it's not being encouraged to challenge yourself. So I think that's the biggest issue that I've been having, but yeah.
Do you have certain things that they will give you a task for? Do you have to create this commercial or this ad a very specific way? Or do they say, it's your duty to go and find this company or to talk to this company, and with talking to this company, you guys get to make whatever kind of ad you want? Is that kind of what you do?
Actually, it depends. It depends on what I'm doing and who I'm working with as well. So I have two bosses. One I get along with really well, and the other one not so much. And that also has decided what job I do in the business as well, because I originally went in for just graphic artist and that was it. Now I'm mostly doing videography, and that's because the one boss that I get along with really well, he's more in charge of videography and photography, and that's the two that I've been doing the most. The other one is graphic design, which is probably actually my favorite out of the three, but the woman that runs it, she can be kind of a control freak and like move it over just like an inch. I'm just like, okay, like let me control it, please. But that's not the case. So it really depends on who, like, what the situation is and who I'm working with.
So you like doing the, what you call it, graphic design.
Mm-hmm.
You like to do the graphic design, and you'd like it more if you had more control over it.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
100%.
Good. Is there a part doing this that you hate?
Yes. Recently, they call me the jack of all trades at work because I can pick things up quickly. So now they've tried to push me into PR, which that was the one thing they asked me right from the get-go, like, what are your favorite things out of like the three? And then I tell them, and then they're like, all right, which one do you hate? I was like, PR. Like, whatever you do not make me do PR. Like, I don't want to call people. I don't want to talk to people. Not that I have issues with people, but just I'd rather do the creative part. And so I've been doing a lot of PR, and I'm decent at it. So that's why they make me keep doing it. Mm-hmm. And I know all the clients and everything. So that's where it starts to become like very miserable for me. Mm-hmm. And that's like when I notice I like start getting on my phone, and they say like when people get on their phone at work, it's because they're looking for some type of control. And so I tend to do that when I'm doing like PR. I mean, because I can have my phone with PR, so I'm just like, I'll just pretend a little bit.
Yeah. Sometimes it gets a little addicting. Like, hey, I'm just gonna check this message, and then it's like, rabbit hole is just right there, and it's really hard to like not jump into the rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, for sure.
With all the different aspects that you do within your job, your work, what do you feel how do you feel most productive at work?
Actually, when our bosses leave the building, since they tend to work with the clients, it can be very stressful, and when they come to the office, you can just feel the stress. Either the way that they're talking to you or just the way they're talking to each other, you just feel it. And when you're stressful, it's not a good environment for you to like do your best. And also like having to get things done like ASAP, it doesn't feel good being under that amount of pressure. And I try to keep like you know, mental awareness of it, but sometimes it's just hard because I'm just like, can you guys stop being so stressed?
Yeah. So when they're out of the place, then you feel like you can do the things that you need to do.
Yes.
But out of those 3 different categories that you do, which one do you feel like you are just so natural at?
I would say I think it's torn between videography and graphic design, because for graphic design I just like it so much, but with videography I've done it so often now that like it's so easy. I can get like a million things done because I've become so quick with it.
Yeah. Good. And do you think that your situation now, do you think that you're unhappy at work purely because of the people that you work for or with, or the company that you work for? Because you want out.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're happy with what you're doing, so you would just want to switch into a new office, basically, right? New company?
In a way, there's obviously good and bad about like every situation. In the beginning, I actually quite loved the job, and it might have been because all the jobs I came from previously were just absolute garbage. So this was actually like mellow compared to the other ones, and it was something that was in my field that I really liked doing. I would say there's a few factors of like why I don't like it. Compensation, like my boss, like both of them can kind of say where they like appreciate it and everything verbally, they say it, and then sometimes give a little bonus here, a little bonus there, but what really shows is like the actual how much you make, like put your money where your mouth is kind of thing. And there was actually a situation where, because in my field, or I guess in my business, I know I'm making the most money out of everyone, but that's because I had to ask for it, and even when I asked for it, oh my gosh, I was having like a heart attack.
Yes.
And I feel like that shouldn't be the case, and I almost had to like defend like where I was coming from, and I just feel like that's not natural. Like I should feel like it should be completely normal for me to ask for a raise. Like I shouldn't feel bad about it. And just at the end of the day, they were kind of making me feel like bad about it.
Yeah.
So that was like a big sign. And then just the location. The location I'm not happy with because I don't want to live in Lansing.
You have to be here.
Yes.
It's not a thing you can do from home.
No.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest thing that I'm unhappy with, because my ultimate goal is to work remotely, and kind of go where I wish.
Okay. And you said you've been doing this for 3 years. So the people who are in your company that make less than you, are they newer than you, or do they do less things?
They are newer. I'm the oldest, or I'm the person that's been there the longest, so that's another thing with the company, is that they just recycle employees like crazy. And so like they're constantly getting after someone, and you hear this throughout the whole office, and because it's a very little company, so there's not much room you can go. So you know, you hear all the new people, all the mistakes they're making and everything like that, and just it's sometimes it's not a good environment. And so sometimes I just want to get away and then just have them leave me alone. But yeah.
Is there a possibility at all for you to work from home with this company? Have you approached that at all?
No, but I think since the whole COVID thing has happened, I know I was literally the only one in the office that came into work, where everyone else did not. So I was the only employee in there, whereas they were having some of our, at least graphic designers, work remotely. Our other videographer, that it's a little bit more difficult with video because it's more heavy duty. So maybe with graphic design it could be something. But then again, I have to deal with the one boss and then the compensation. So part of me just wants to leave completely. Another part says, it'd be really easy to just, work remotely maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think that can be a big struggle to try to figure out, like, would they allow me? And sometimes it's a sticky situation where, like, you want to approach and say, how about I work from home 2 days a week and doing graphic design on those 2 days a week from home because it's easier to do it at home, or whatever. But sometimes you could potentially get into a sticky situation where they're like, oh, and in the back of their head they're trying to replace you, because some managers, some office managers, some owners are not great at managing people, which is what I'm wondering is happening with you guys. If you guys have such a high turnover rate, if the owners there are not well versed in how to be a manager, and you don't wake up one day saying I'm going to be a manager of a small business. Like, we just get thrown in, and there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of mistakes that you make, and I don't know if they're newer managers or if they've been doing this for a while, but sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and so that makes it like a hard situation as well.
Yeah.
Have you looked into Fiverr or Udemy or Skillshare to try to sell your services that way?
Yes, so I do have an account with Fiverr. It's very new, and I feel like I've been having difficulty doing stuff with Fiverr just because my work drains me so much. Because I don't have like necessarily a set schedule. Like I've worked weekends before, I've worked nights, I've done 12 hours, I've done like whatever they need me to do, I've kind of done it for them. And so like that inconsistency of like not being able to plan, and then also just the environment that's like draining. I just feel like if I had like a month off, then like maybe like obviously just rest and like recoup. And then like maybe I can make like decisions and everything like that, and like work on what I actually want to do. But then I think my biggest like hurdle is just fear. And like fear, especially around here where I've lived my whole life, because I would say it's easier in a different place where you don't know anything. You can just say, hey, I'm new here. But here they're like, no, you've been here your whole life. Like there's no excuse. But so I think that's the thing that I've kind of been struggling with. But yeah, I really want to get into Fiverr, because Fiverr will help me work remotely and just kind of, you know, practice more and like get more clients in.
If this is something that you might be interested in, go ahead and click the show notes below and it will take you to my link tree to my website. You're able to see how you can work directly with me. If you need additional one-on-one help, that's where you can find me.